Hi guys, and welcome back to another Adobe Premiere tutorial. My name is Arnold Faller, and today we're going to talk about how to apply effects on layers, how to apply effects on adjustment layers, and we do a little bit of color grading, and later on I'll show you how to use lookup tables. Let's get started. So we're here in Premiere, and what I'm going to do is I'm quickly importing two pieces of footage. That is, here they are. And we're going to start with the first one, and this is the one where I'm going to show you how to place effects on it. So basically the footage that we have here is quite simple. It's a pan movement from a fall colored tree to a church. Let me quickly remove the audio here. So I'm going to hit unlink and hit delete, and also I'm going to take away a little bit from the beginning of the footage. This is where it's shaky when I turn the camera on, and towards the end also there's a shaky part. Okay, so here it is. The first thing that I would like to show you in general, how to use an effect on a layer. So you select the layer. No, you don't have to select the layer. You choose here in your project window, you go to effects, and you find video effects, and here's a list of all the video effects that you can apply to. What I usually do is I don't go through all the categories and folders. I just go up here and find the effect that I'm looking for. In this case, I would like to show you by placing a curves on it, and here it is. It's in a folder called obsolete RGB curves, and then you just take the effect out and pull it on top of the video. You can see up here in the effect controls window that it has been added, and we dealt with motion and opacity, and let's close this quickly. Now there has an effect been added in this list, and if I close it, you can see the last one, RGB curves. So if I do it one more time, you see it adds another RGB curves here to the list. Let me delete the second one. So this RGB curves, I just want to show you one thing. That's an effect that's now applied to the whole clip that you have dragged it on. And what I'm going to do is here in the RGB curves is a layer that is an effect that I like a lot when I want to make my image a little slightly brighter or darker, or even if I want to increase or decrease the contrast. Here are different curves. Right now they don't look like curves, they're just straight lines. There's a master curve, and there's also one where you can adjust your red, green, and blue channel. I'm going to do the master only. And if you compare it to the video here on the right side, what it is basically, it is all the ingoing pixels sorted by luminance, by brightness on the bottom. So the darkest one are on the left, the brightest one are on the right. This is the input, and on the left side here on the vertical line is the output, and right now it's a 45-degree angle line, and I'll just show you. I click in the middle and drag it down. What that means, any pixel that was, let's say, had 50% brightness here in the middle, when you go up till you hit the line and then you go left, now you are below 50%. That means those pixels got darker. And if I show the effect with before and after, you can show it by simply turning the effects button off. Before and after, you can see that it got darker, but not the same way that you would do when you get brightness and contrast, and you turn the brightness down. With the brightness down, you get quickly black areas where all the pixels they fade out into total black. Here only the middle part is getting darker, the totally black pixels, and the totally white pixels got untouched, still untouched. So this is one way to simply create such a belly. You drag it down to darken a footage, or you pull it up to brighten it up. So make a curve to top. If you want to get rid of the point here in the middle, just drag it out and then it's gone. Another thing is you can create an S curve by clicking, add a point down here and another vertex up here, and you create a slight S curve. That will increase the contrast, because the dark pixels here, they got darker and the bright ones got brighter. But still, the very bright image, and maybe we can see some towards the end of our clip here where we look into the sun, the very dark pixels, they got we did not touch them, so they are not bleeding out. This is now they get clipped. See, it's now totally white, I guess, here and these areas. So make sure you just create an S-curve, but the curve should not touch the ceiling or the floor. Okay, so much for a way to apply one effect to one video. Let me quickly remove the effect. So here it is, selected, select RGB curve and hit delete. Good, so the effect is removed. So what happens if you have two clips? And just to show you, I'm taking the one clip that I already have in my scene, and while holding the Alt key, I drag a copy. So now I have a copy, and I just put it next to each other, so that would be, so that it looks a little bit like I have a sequence of shots. Let's do it one more time here, and there's another one here, and maybe like this. So just 3 clips put together. Now if you want to apply the same effect to all 3 clips, that means you would have to apply the effect to every one and maybe adjust. You could do copy paste, but it's much better way to do it is not to apply the effect to the 3 single layers, but to place another layer on top of them, and that's called an adjustment layer. We don't have an adjustment layer right now, so what I do is I just, into my project window, I click at new and I choose a new adjustment layer. It has the same size, okay, as my video clips and as my composition. And you take the adjustment layer and place it on top of your video clips. Make sure it has a length that it covers all underlaying video clips. If you need additional rows here in the video tracks, just click with your right mouse in here and you can choose add track, and then you have another one where you can place it on top. So for example, here would be an adjustment layer, and if I have titles or anything else, I can place the titles above the adjustment layer if I don't want the titles to be influenced by it. So the adjustment layer only influences layers that are below it. And now all you need to do is take the same effect or any other. I'm going to take the same RGB curve and place it on top of the adjustment layer. Let me do the same thing again. So darken it. And now you can see if I move my slider, all the 4 layers will be darkened because it's all the 3 layers, not all the 3 clips, because the adjustment layer got the effect and it affects all layers below, or clips below, all tracks below. Good. So that's it. Let me remove that again. So if it's only one clip, if it's only one piece of footage, then you can just drag it directly onto the piece. If it's more than one and you want to place the same effect on everything, use adjustment layers. Good. The next thing is now we're gonna use. Let's get rid of the adjustment layer quickly and all the stuff here. Let me show you how to use some special effects, and the one that I would like to show you is the Lumetri color effect. So this time I'm going to place it onto my clip. So in here you can either start typing Lumetri, but in this case you will find there's different way. Here's a Lumetri presets, and when you open it, the Lumetri presets, and you get all kinds of categories, and in the categories you get different settings or presets. I'm going to show you one without the presets, and you'll find the Lumetri presets here under Video Effects and Color Correction, and here's the Lumetri Color. So you take the Lumetri Color and pull it onto your video clip. So it added the Lumetri Color here as an effect. And it has a lot of parameters to roll out basic corrections and so on. You will know them maybe from Photoshop, maybe from Lightroom. So now you can adjust your clip with all those settings in here. So for example, let's try the basic corrections. This is something that you might know from Photoshop. So you can adjust the blacks, the whites, the highlights, the shadows, and so on. So let's do something a little bit, I don't know, just any changes. I'm going to take the blacks and make it brighter. So I'm going to create something like a flat look first. Shadows are lifted up, highlights are darkened down. Maybe I'm going to change the color temperature slightly into something warmer. And then I go further down and so on. Here's also a way to add some curves. You can add the same contrast curve that we did before. What else is there? So there's hundreds of parameters to change. Color wheels and match, so we can try the color wheels. So the shadows, the midtones, and the highlights. So if we you can go to the middle and drag it out towards a certain color. The further you drag it out, the more saturated it gets. So for example, I want to take the shadows, the dark areas, and tint them slightly bluish. So I'm going to go a little bit towards the blue. The midtones, I'm going to give them the midtones will get the a little bit of reddish color, and the highlights get a little bit of towards the orange. And you can also adjust how much of it, where the position of the highlights and the midtones is, and so on. Also, you can add a vignette if you want. So here's the vignette. Let's make it slightly darker, and so on. So you can create your own look just by playing with those parameters. If I close those parameters quickly, so we get all the effects, all the parameters in just a list. Here's the before and after. Oh, you can see the difference. So there's a lot of color shift in both the highlights and a little bit in the shadow as well. So I have a vignette. You can see that it's kind of centered. The attention is to the center. So all those things, I just did it from scratch. Let me delete that Lumetri color one more time. So you could also have reset it, sorry. Because I would like to show you one more thing that you can do with the Lumetri color, and that is using a so-called lookup table. So I'm going to place the Lumetri color again on my clip. Right now, no change here. And when you look up here in the first two sections, one is basic corrections. This is what we did here with the highlights and the blacks and so on. And here under creative, there is also things you might know from Photoshop. Vibrance is also something I like to increase when I want more colors in it instead of saturation. Sometimes you want a little bit more sharpness or even less sharpness and so on. Let's reset that back. But what I wanted to show you is here in the both in basic and creative. Let's open it quickly. You have a field to search for a LUT, and LUT stands for lookup table. Basically, it's just a list that defines in the colors going in which direction. So every color gets a before and after value, and every color that it was before has a corresponding after color. So every color will be switched towards a certain direction. It doesn't matter whether you put it into the basic correction or into the basic or into the creative rollout. You just click at none. In the creative, there's a couple more in the list here. So there's a couple of lookup tables here in the list. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to browse for one. I just prepared a couple of lookup tables. They are called LUTs. They either come in different file formats, and you can look up which ones here. Look, cube, and sometimes it's .lut, and there's all kinds of different lookup tables that you can find. Those can be downloaded from websites. They can be, you can create your own. Yeah, basically there's some for free. People also sell those LUTs. So let's try some here. I just took a random lookup table. So here's one that makes a very high contrast picture. Always check the before and after. So here's the before and the after. Lookup table, next one, just go in here, go to browse. The second one, I think, is one of that is trying to mimic the look of certain films. So here's much the warmer colors, but a pretty high contrast, kind of film look here. And the second one and the third one, I don't know, is a little bit, yes, it's a very warm one. It's also a film look. Okay, so you could just place them into your lookup table. They change the whole image depending on what values are stored in there. And then you can still continue working with all those values. So this is just a start for your look, and then you can just go in here and say, okay, but I want a little bit less vibrance there, and let's make it slightly brighter. So why don't I take the curve and lift it up a little bit, and so on. So you can start with a lookup table with a LUT, and then continue with your settings in the Lumetri Color. Okay, so that is the effect Lumetri Color that basically allows you to do all the color grading that you want. There is an extra interface, a user interface for color grading. The only difference, you just have to switch up here where you can switch between the different user interface, switch to color. And what it does, it has still the same size actually, so, but it has the whole Lumetri Color here on the left side. So you select your clip, and then you can adjust basic creative input and so on and so on. So here's the, you see, this is the one where I already placed it. So basically it's the same as here. I usually prefer the editing, and I do my changes to the Lumetri Color here in the list, and I just close them when I don't need them anymore. Okay, so much for that. Let's kick out the clip quickly. The next thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to show you the same thing for an interior, for an artificial light view. And when I shot the view, and when I brought it into Premiere, what I noticed, here it is. Let me quickly remove the audio, but I think there's nothing on it. When I try to show it to you, and please watch the quality of the window up here when I hit play, and you notice that there's a massive flickering on it here, especially in the middle. There's a lot of flickering. The flickering comes from those artificial lights. They are LEDs, and they have a different frequency, and I probably should have played a little bit with the frame rate of the camera, and maybe with the shutter speed a little bit longer, and so on. So if those two, the shutter speed and the frequency of the light, if they are slightly different, then what you get is you get a lot of those flickering. There is, of course, plugins that help you to remove the flickering. I would like to show you a quick and easy way to get rid of it. But before we do this, something else. You notice that there is it's a handheld camera, and you notice there is a lot of shaking in it, so the footage is a little shaky. So before I do anything, I would like to show you how to fix the shaky footage. You have to be prepared that you lose a little bit, but this is shot anyway in 4K, so we don't lose a lot of pixels there, and we could always go to a smaller composition size and then zoom in a bit. But so if we do the stabilizing, we lose a little bit, so around 10% gets lost, so it kind of, the picture gets a little bit larger. How is it done? It's an effect, and the effect is called warp stabilizer. And you just type warp, and you will find warp stabilizer. You pull it onto the clip, and it says analyzing background 1 out of 2, and it takes a couple seconds. I'm gonna pause the video and get back to you as soon as it's finished. And we are back. That was enough time to get a cup of coffee. That took about 3 or 4 minutes. But now if you watch the video, you can see it is still flickering, but it's much more stable and smooth. So now I am going to cut away a little bit at the back, and also a little bit at the beginning, and let's fix the flickering. An easy way to fix the flickering and without any plugins and so on is simply imagine if you look really close, and I'm going for this is the middle part is flickering the most, and I'm going to zoom in a lot, and when I move my time slider, you know that that every picture is either a little bit brighter or darker, So what we're going to do is we're going to take the layer, and I hold my Alt key and move a copy of it on top of it. This copy I'm going to select, and I move it in time 1 frame forward. So I select it, move to the right till it says 0, 1, and now it's 1 frame moved. And this copy, I'm going to take the copy, and here under opacity, I'm going to change the blend mode to darken. So it will be laid on top of it, and unfortunately, there is some vertical motion. You can see actually that there will be some additional motion blur. If you want it to be motion blur, you have to take the layer that you just put on top with blend mode darken. You have to reduce the opacity. So if you go to, let's say, 50. Then you get a little bit of blur, and if it's running, you will hardly see it. The same thing we're going to do one more time, only this time we're going to move it in the other direction. So we're going to take the same thing here, move a copy up, and this time we're going to move it like 2 frames, 1 frame, and sorry, I have to move the bottom 1 frame, this. That's hard because the snap always snaps there. So like this. So the you can see it here in the beginning quite well. So the bottom one starts 1 frame later. The top one, which is also darkened at 50%. And so basically I just took the original video, took 1 copy forward 1 frame and the other one backward 1 frame. And if I now run it, you can see it up again in the window, and you will notice the flickering is much better. There's still some flickering there, but it's much better. There's a little bit of more motion blur, so it works better for a footage where there's not too fast movement. But for this one, it works quite well. So that was the offset frame in both directions. Blend mode is set to darken for both, and I set the opacity to 50%. Okay, so that is a quick way to fix it. And now, of course, you can place whatever you want on top. So in this case, if I want to place an effect, a lookup table on top, I cannot place it on one of the layers. I have to create an adjustment layer, put the adjustment layer on top, and place whatever effect. Here is the effect. I'm going to use the Lumetri Colors video effect, color correction, Lumetri Color on top of the adjustment layer, and go again for a lookup table. Of course, there are some specific ones for indoors as well, but I just take the one we had there. Okay, there it is. Pretty dark, so that means I can also go in here and check the curves and brighten everything up a bit. And now we got the warm look from the lookup table and the little bit brighter curve. Good. Thanks. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Please leave a comment what else you would like to see, and I'll see you in the next video.